invest the time in yourself and your dreams. Write down what you want to have without, as you said, without limitations. Just take a few moments and do a true north visioning, right, of what you want your business or your life to do. And write it down, feel into it. And I would post it somewhere, read it 3 times a day with emotion so that you can see yourself in that vision that you created, and then wake up 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now when you'll recognize that you had dreamt and achieved those dreams.
Hi, welcome back to Journey of a Fearless Female. I am your host, Paola Rosser, and this week my guest is Georgianne McConnell. She is the founder of Sacred-Soul-Business, a unique platform that combines her extensive entrepreneurial experience and her passion for spirituality. She helps holistic and spiritually minded small business owners who struggle with inconsistent income, low self-esteem, and undervalued services. Georgianne teaches them how to create, grow, and sustain a consistent income stream that aligns with their purpose and values. She also helps them achieve their business goals, boost their confidence and profitability, and embrace the energy of money. Georgianne has over 30 years in the financial industry, banking, lending, and as a financial investment advisor. During her tenure as an investment advisor, she has helped dozens of agents create their own successful practice. Throughout this time, she's presented Wine, Women, and Wealth, which I love. I love that title. Financial seminars designed for women business owners searching for answers to their financial business growth. Merging with practical side of money and the spiritual and holistic side of business, Georgianne brings a deep understanding of spiritual concepts and practical techniques to create a perfect balance for both beginners and those with more experience in spirituality and business. Everyone, welcome Georgianne. I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there's so
Me
much. I feel like we're
too.
going to have so much to talk about. Let's talk about your journey. Where did this all begin? How did you get into the financial sector? Let's go way back.
Okay, yes, thank you. And I'm so excited to be here as well. Um, well, as you had said, I have over 30 years, even longer, being in the financial world. Um, my entire business career has been in the financial world. But the part that I really want to talk about is, about 20 years ago, I was working, my day job, living paycheck to paycheck, like a lot of people. And I struggled, right? I mean, I was working at work, I was working at home, and there never seemed to be enough time, money, and I couldn't see a way out, right? It
Yeah.
was just a perpetual cycle of never ending stress. And even though I had been in the financial world at that point for a long time, I myself had struggled with money. And along the way, I did get introduced to the spiritual realm, which I love. I truly believe that the universe is here, to guide us and and it has our back, right?
Yes.
Um, But when I was in banking at this particular time, and I had been, I was driving home one day, happy, the sun was shining, I was listening to my beautiful music, and life was good. And then I get home, and as I'm unpacking my laptop, my budget, paperwork, right, all of the things that I had to do, still do, um, outside of work, I knew that there had to be a better way,
Hmm.
right? And I kept asking, right? Asking out into the universe, am I missing something? There's got to be a better way for me to live the life that I dreamt about for years.
Mm.
And one day I did receive a random email inviting me to a conference. And my heart kind of jumped at that. You know how sometimes the universe sends us those little signs
Yeah.
along the way. And my heart said, we're going to do that. So I went and I listened to this gentleman. He was a financial advisor, and he was talking about how money works in the practical sense, right? Not in the spiritual sense, the way I talk about it. But he was talking about investments and insurance and how I could live the life that I wanted, that I could be in control of my finances, of my life, and how I wanted to create, the life that I wanted. And there was something there, and as I'm sitting there listening to him, there was just something that said, oh, this is me, this is it, this is my path to a better life. And so I signed up, I became a financial advisor, and I took the courses, I took the license test, I did everything that they asked me to do. And it took a few years, right, of me doing both my day job and then the financial advising business. And then I was able to leave my day job and became a financial advisor full-time.
Nice.
Loved it, right? And as you had mentioned in my bio, the
Wine, women and wealth.
Women and wealth. I got a little tongue-tied there. I'm so excited. Those I started years ago because most of the people that I met were women.
Yeah.
Some business owners, some regular day job people, like so many of us. That gave me the opportunity to help women with their own financial life, to understand it more, to be able to ask questions, even how to do a spending plan. I don't call it a budget, I call it a spending plan.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start changing my vernacular to spending plan versus a budget.
Yeah, because the budget for me, it's just so constricting.
Yeah.
But a spending plan is you get to choose what you spend your money on, right?
Yes.
So I've used that for forever. But I loved being able to help women understand more about their finances. And even if someone else, their husband, their father, their CPA, whoever, even if someone else managed that for them, did their taxes or whatever, I still believe that it's important for the women to understand at least what's happening in their financial life.
Yes, absolutely. So before we go any further, I would love to ask you, what was the financial life of your parents and what did they teach you about money growing up?
Yeah, great question. So it's interesting when we look back at our parents and other people that have molded us. My parents never talked about money.
Really?
Never, right? And when I was in high school or early high school, ninth grade, my parents bought a grocery store because my dad was the only one working at that time, but they wanted to be self-employed, own their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I kind of got introduced to the business side of the grocery store. But even then, my parents, we had no idea how much they made, how much they didn't make, right? We never talked about money, even to this day. Well, I talk to my mom more now that I've been in the, in the financial world.
So you never saw them argue about money. You were never told, no, we can't afford that, or no, you can't have that. It was just, everything was just, you never even knew how much things cost her.
Exactly. My parents moved us every 3 years until I was in eighth grade. And we of course didn't know why, right? My parents just said, all right, we're going to move again. And it was about every 3 to 4 years. Later, right, probably about 5, 6 years ago, my dad's been gone about that time. So after my dad passed, I talked to my mom about it. And it was because of financial reasons. Right?
Oh.
But no, they never, never talked about why or anything.
Or money, or never saw them arguing about.
Yep. They never argued about any of that stuff. And
That's interesting. And then it's also like a huge deterrent. I mean, because then you start your life, creating your own life path, and you're like, well, I don't know how to balance a checkbook, and I don't know what a FICO score is, and I don't know how
yeah,
to apply for a credit card or how to get a loan, or like these are important conversations that you should be having with your kids. And it's something that like even the school system doesn't prepare you for or
right.
talk to you about. Like I love the memes that show up on Instagram that say, I don't want to learn how to line dance. I want to learn how to do my taxes.
Yeah, yeah. And the good thing for me is, so I got into banking when I was 18. So I knew how to balance a checkbook and all of those other pieces. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when my parents had that grocery store, what subconsciously I took, and of course it took years of discovering and uncovering all of the self-limiting beliefs and all of the beliefs itself that I grew up with, but there was always money in that cash register. When I worked at the bank, there was always money. I would go through as a teller hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so one of the beliefs that I had was that money does grow on trees. There is
Ooh,
always money around.
I actually have that on my vision board. Money does grow on trees.
Exactly, and it does. And so I can look back then, that did get me into trouble because I did get into credit card debt because
Yeah.
money was always there, just not in my bank account. But so I was able to keep that belief, because it does, right?
Hmm.
Money is all around us. Abundance is all around us. And that's, one of the reasons why I love doing what I do, is to help people to understand that we deserve abundance. We
Hmm.
deserve to live, the life that we want to live,
Yeah.
regardless of if you want, $10,000 a year income or 10 million, right? It doesn't matter. It's available to all of us.
Yes. I love that you said that. And I love that you said that during the Wine Women and Wealth times that you were meeting with women, that you were teaching them, how to like have their spending accounts, not their budget, but their spending accounts, and like create wealth. I think that's a conversation for a lot of women. We've been sold the idea that we just have to marry rich, or we have to find a husband who's willing to work a lot. And I've been watching a lot of TikToks where these traditional wives videos are showing like eventually the husband leaves them and they never got their college education, or they never learned like what bills needed to be paid, or how to even start like, an account with like the utilities, like all these like normal things that you're supposed to know about. Like this is why I tell my clients, like, you should at least live by yourself for a year
Yeah,
before you get married, because I feel like the old notion was you moved out of your parents' house only when you married.
right.
And it's like, no, move out by yourself, be single, learn how to love yourself and be alone, and learn what it takes to like run a household without kids, without a husband, so that if your kids or your husband, well, your kids eventually move out, or your husband either, passes on or moves on to the next wife, at least you know that you could do it on your own,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly. That you have the confidence and the certainty that you can. It may not be easy, right? I mean, I've gone through a divorce and it's not always easy. However, it's part of life, it's part of the experience, and being able to trust ourselves that we can achieve it,
Mm,
whatever the part is, right? And then we can move forward and take care of ourselves, right? That
yeah.
self-sufficiency. Yeah, I agree.
How did you get into the spiritual side of money? Because there's the logical side of money, and I loved how you said you worked in the bank. I used to work in the bank, actually. That was one of my very first jobs, was working at a bank. And I loved working there. And you do see a lot of money, and that's such a great job for you to always see you're around money. It's not something that you're afraid of. It's not something that it just, you see people, and you would see the people. I loved about working at the bank is that as a teller, I would see the most like underrepresented person come in with wads of money.
Yes.
And it reminded me to like think, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
because there was a man who came in who had like tattered clothing and he looked like he just got out of like a dirt mine, and his clothes were all messed up, but he had hundreds of thousands of dollars in his bank account. And then there would be the woman that had like the beautiful pantsuit and, you know, all the jewelry and the perfect little purse, and she was like in the negative trying to like
I was
put
gonna say
money in her
overwhelmed.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You could never judge a book by its cover. And so like I learned a lot of lessons working at the bank, but how did you get to the spiritual side of money? Because it is money is an energy. We're all energy beings having a human experience. So how did you get into that spirituality side of it?
Yeah, great question. I love that. It was actually through one of my dear, dear friends. We're still friends to this day. So it was back in the 80s, in the 90s. She took me to a palm reader.
Oh.
I had never, I mean, I didn't even, I mean, when I was growing up, let me kind of back up. When I was growing up, I believed in reincarnation and life after death, and all of my family does not, right? I'm like the only one in the family
Oh.
that believes that. So when I met with my friend through the bank, we worked together, and she took me to a palm reader, which was for me, it was so fascinating, right? To just watch this lady look at my hand and say, oh, this and this and this. And that's really what started my journey into the spirituality. And so
Hmm.
I've done many palm readings. I've had lots of sessions with psychics and healers and energy healing. I'm a trained Reiki master as well. So all of this over the last 20 plus years, it like opened my eyes to the infinite possibilities that we have, and truly how money and energy and abundance and how it all flows in together. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. So, what would you tell somebody who is looking to tap into the energy of money?
I love that. So one of the things, as you had said, is as we talked about with the money does grow on trees. Think about what things they say to themselves, right? The negative, quite often it's the negative self-talk, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is the root of all evil, right? All of those things, and be able to reframe it. So, like, for example, my money does grow on trees. And that's a positive thing. Just the way I say it, just the way you
Yeah.
said it, it's a positive thing. So being able to reframe it. And then I use what I call inner voice activations, basically affirmations. I just use it a little differently. So if you write down your some limiting beliefs and then you reframe them to the positive about how money is abundant.
Yeah.
It's always there. If you think about money as like the electricity, it's always there. We're not afraid of it. We just
Yeah.
flip on the switch and we know it's going to be there. So being able to shift their mindset as far as looking at money differently, right? The energy of money, because it is, as we talked about, it's
Hmm.
all around. It's always here, and we deserve to have all that we want, all that we
Yeah.
desire.
So you are in the business of helping women who have, spiritually minded businesses, right? And a lot of us who are spiritual people, like me, I'm a life coach and a motion body code practitioner. And I work with a lot of other coaches. Like I talk to a lot of coaches. I'm part of masterminds, and we're always talking about the idea of wanting to serve others in a place that comes from inspired love and light. And then we think like, oh, but we can't charge that much money, or we should be doing this for free, but
Yes.
the reality of life is that money creates freedom. And that's something that I never experienced until I got married. Like my husband was a very, and is, sorry, he's alive. He's a very wealthy man, and like he brought me into a whole new world. And I remember growing up believing that people who had money were evil, and people who had money were greedy, and people who had money were, just jerks and didn't care about other people. And then I come into this new world and I met a whole array of people with different businesses making millions of dollars. Like for them, $100,000 month was just like, oh yeah, just another Monday, you know, for them, like, you know, and it was just like fascinating to me because I came from a world where I was struggling and trying to live paycheck to paycheck, trying to, you know, have 2 or 3 different side hustles so that I could pay off my credit card bills,
Right.
you know, and like begging my employer to give me 50-cent raise, you know, and yet here he was like, you know, buying me things and doing things that cost like my annual salary, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was like a whole different mindset. And my husband really believes that money comes and money goes, but money keeps coming in. He never feels like there's an end to it. And whereas I'm the different person that's like, oh my gosh, we're putting so much money out there and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, it's all going to come back to us.
Yeah.
Like he loves the saying, like every dollar I spend comes back to me multiply.
Right.
So he loves that vernacular. And I like here I am, I'm like struggling and struggling and struggling. And he'll just sit on his computer and do 1 or 2 little types. And then he's like, oh, I made $1,200 by moving this stock to this stock. I'm like, what? How? Like, teach me your ways, you know, but like me as a spiritual healer, there is that controversy and amongst a lot of the spiritual community and coaches and teachers and light workers who are afraid to charge what, you know, they feel they should charge because we still have to pay bills, right? There, all of these light workers, all of these healers, all of these coaches still have to, like, I know we're not living fairyland out in the by ourselves, right? So my question to you is, how do you get the light workers, the healers, and the coaches to understand that there's value in what they're doing and that they are allowed and worthy and deserving of charging whatever they desire to charge to live the life that they desire to live?
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. Yes, and absolutely. And I was feeling it right there with you on it, right? There's a difference in mindset, right? Abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Have always been like your husband, always been an abundance mindset, even though I didn't know what that meant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Way back when. And I've known people who are scarcity mindset. My previous husband was. And it's difficult to kind of have that back and forth of, I think money's always going to come. I always have enough. And he was like, no, we can't spend that because, right, what if something happens in 5 years, you know? But as far as the spiritual business owners, right, the way I look at it is it's just a shift in perspective. They need to feel the value themselves, that they're worthy of people paying them, right, giving them money. So one of the pieces that I look at, or the way I talk about it, is if you think about the last time you gave someone a gift, a birthday gift, a holiday gift, just a paid for their cup of coffee, right? Whatever piece it is, usually you feel great. So if you think about the client that you have, the person that's in front of you, and you want to charge them however much for your course or your services, you know, or your time, but if you're afraid and constricting that energy of the money, then you're not giving them the opportunity to share their gift, which in this case is money, to you. Not sure if that kind of made sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
You know, and it is really a mindset shift of, I'm allowing them to give me their gift because what I am offering to them will transform their life, will change their life, will do whatever, you know, your products and services do for these people. And if you cut that off and you don't let them pay you, you're not giving them the opportunity to have a different life.
Yeah. My husband says the same thing. He's always like, Paola, if you're the one paying for people, because I pay for a lot of like shamanic healers and I do a lot of readings. Like this morning, I did a reading with his name is Mark Patterson. He had a near-death experience and he does, past life regression meditations. And so I did that with him this morning. And he's like, if you're willing to pay for their services, why isn't it okay for people to pay for your services? As just as much as you value and you trust those healers and those light workers and those mediums, like, why don't you feel the same, And I know that it goes back to like childhood and growing up in like not so great, ways and stuff. But I always go back, like, cause I have to like be self-aware and train my brain from like the old patterns to the new patterns.
Right.
And like, I literally have to talk to myself and say, Paola, there was a time when you lived in a small studio apartment and you didn't have anything, but you had a vision and you had a dream and all of those things came true. And if you could do that, you could do it again and again and again. So I have to like train my brain. And I love that you said that you are changing your vernacular, because now I'm going to start changing that. I'm going to start changing it instead of a budget. What did you call it again? It's your spending accounts.
A spending plan.
My spending plan. Yeah.
Yep.
My spending plan. Yes, absolutely. Because you do get to choose what you get to spend your money on.
Exactly. Preaching to the choir.
Yes. Because I even just heard Gabrielle Bernstein say that when you use an affirmation with the word choose, it empowers you because it shows that you're the one that has the choice. And, if we take it way back, we're humans with free will who have the ability to choose what we want. And when we spend a lot of time in lack and scarcity, that's what we're choosing. That's what we're saying yes to every single day. Versus like, okay, I'm going to say yes to an abundant universe. Like, I love that you said that earlier. We live in an abundant universe.
Yes, we certainly do. Yep. And I love Gabby Bernstein too. I have all of her books.
I know. I love Gabrielle Bernstein. I'm doing her 21-day manifesting challenge right now. So tell us a little bit more about like how you got into that, because you went from being a financial advisor, you discovered spirituality by going to that one conference. How did you start to mix the two together into what you're doing today?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of coaches out there, as I've found, there's a lot of coaches that work on mindset, right? Whether it's money mindset, self-beliefs, right? Whatever that part is. Then there's a lot of business coaches or a lot of coaches that do the financial, right? How do you price things? What's your profit and loss? How does that look like, right? So I decided, my dream has always been to help lots of people, millions of people. So I decided that I had the perfect opportunity of bringing both pieces together, merging the spirituality with the financial aspect and how to build a business, how to start from scratch even. And I am really good at helping understand in layman's terms what the money means, right? What does your profit and loss mean to you? Yeah. I don't do taxes. I pay someone to do my taxes. I don't do that. But I understand it all, right?
Yeah.
Balance sheet and how if we tweak this pricing, what does that look like to your end profit, right? So that's what got me interested in being able to merge the two together, because the need is out there. There are so many spiritual business owners that are emerging, all the transitions that we as a collective and a humanity are going through. So there's so many spiritual businesses that are being born of this. And most of them start their business because they're passionate about yoga or their Reiki or their tarot reading, right? So that's why they start the business. And then they quite often don't want to look, or they don't understand their money aspect, the financial part. So it kind of robs them of their energy, their growth energy. So that's how I came into, I'm going to do this. I'm really good at both, and let's just
merge them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I love the conversation that we're having. As we wrap up this episode, what would be your nugget of wisdom for, this coach, the healer, the spiritual mentors, the light workers that are out there that are trying to figure out how to price their stuff, and like what to do to like heal that relationship with money?
Yeah, great question. Um, no, I have on my website, I have a free workbook that is titled Unlocking Prosperity. So, overcoming scarcity beliefs through empowerment and abundance.
Mm,
And through that, as we've been talking about, Paola, is we start with the foundation of our belief systems and being able to shift them, shift the vernacular, change the way we think of things, and then that allows us to focus and create the life that we desire, right?
mhm,
But we've got to shift the mindset first. Yeah, and a lot of it with the money aspect is being able to use the affirmations or inner voice activations that I say into shifting our consciousness and really opening up to the possibilities of the universe and letting the universe send us what we're open to receive.
yes. I have so many amazing stories that I listen to on other podcasts where, you know, and this is what reinforces my idea that we do come from an infinite source. And even when I teach my clients and we're doing like vision boards or what do you want for your future and we're creating goals, I tell them, so how much do you want to make? And they're like, "Ugh, I don't know, like 50,000." And I'm like, well, why won't you go for 100 or why won't you go for 200? Or,
Yeah.
because sometimes like our brain is so limited and we can't even understand the vastness of source, the divine, God, the universe, that we are afraid to ask for more. And I was just talking to a couple of my clients yesterday where I was saying, it does go back to when you were a child. If you were told no all the time, no, we can't afford that, no, there's not enough, no, we have food at home, or no, you can't go on the field trip, or no, you can't join that team because we don't have enough money, or no, you're not going to go to college, or no, you're not going to get a car because we can't afford it. Like, then those are still running in the background. So when you're asking the universe for, I want a new car, I want a new house, I want more money, like that, the voice of your parents or your caretaker or your step parent is saying, nope, 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 who are you to ask for that? There's not enough.
Right.
But we come from an infinite source. And so that's where we have to go back with our childlike mind before we were told no,
Mm-hmm.
before we were, given the conditions of like, no, can't happen for you. You have to go back to that place and say, you can have anything.
Right. Right.
You can have anything and the universe will deliver.
Right, right. And I love vision boards. That's one of the things I used to teach as well, vision boards. And in fact, just the other day, I got a copy or a picture of a dream car that I went to Staples, printed it on a color paper, cut it all out, and it's right by my computer so that I remember I want that car, right?
Yes.
So it is about shifting and just changing the realizing that we do have access to limitless abundance. We just have
Yeah.
no idea what is available for us.
Yeah. And you never know where it's going to come from. That's another program that we believe that it's only going to come from us working 9 to 5 and collecting a paycheck. And I've been surprised by how the universe shows up and shows me, no, you're going to get it from an unexpected tax refund, or no, you're going to get it from an unexpected check in the mail, or no, somebody is going to like send you money for your birthday, or no. And it just always comes. And so that's the thing. It's like if you play in the game of possibilities, miracles, and blessings, you're going to get more of that. Versus if you play the game of lack, scarcity, and fear, you're going to get more of that. And so it's just like this duality of the universe. But where do you want to spend most of your time?
Right, right.
Right? In the light or in the darkness? And so, anyways, I really love our conversation. What would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who is listening today?
So my nugget of wisdom is that if you invest the time in yourself and your dreams. Write down what you want to have without, as you said, without limitations. Just take a few moments and do a true north visioning, right, of what you want your business or your life to do. And write it down, feel into it. And I would post it somewhere, read it 3 times a day with emotion so that you can see yourself in that vision, that you created, and then wake up 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now when you'll recognize that you had dreamt and achieved those dreams.
Oh, beautiful. How can my audience find you?
So my website is www.georgiannemcconnell.com. And in that I have quite a few courses. I have some free ones there as well. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect.
Georgianne McConnell. Yep.
Yes. And make sure you go to her website to get her free workbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Paola.
Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.